It's 2019, and Asian music has without a doubt made its way into popular American radios and music festivals. One significant genre that has been making tremendous international music waves is K-pop. K-pop is short for Korean pop, and as the name suggests, is originated from Korea and is spoken in the Korean language. It's no mystery how their impressive visuals and catchy sound keeps fans' eyes and ears peeled around the world.
What do you like about Asian music, specifically K-pop?
I like that I don't know the words to a lot of it, so it's just kind of background music. I like how happy and upbeat it is.
I like it because it's different, and I like it because, like, the details are always really intricate. Like, music videos are different than, like, in that, like, genre as, like, compared to, like, American music.
According to Grammy.com, K-pop concerts have sold out venues seating thousands of fans in major U.S. cities such as Chicago, Atlanta, and Houston. In 2011, Girls' Generation performed at New York's Madison Square Garden. Closer to us in LA, the Korean Musical Festival has been a part of the Hollywood Bowl for the past 10 years. A personal group favorite of ours called Blackpink even made its way into Coachella, becoming the first K-pop girls group to perform at the popular American Music Festival.
Totally different worlds, but tonight I think we learned so deeply that music brings us as one.
It's no doubt that Korean music has made its way into American radios and is here to stay, but upon consideration I noticed there's something off about the popularity of Asian music in America. We noticed that although we see Asian music coming from the East, how come there aren't many Asian musicians coming from the West, in our own country? Americans love Asian music, but where are our own Asian musicians? We interviewed a couple of friends and found something interesting.
Popular Asian musicians? Honestly, I don't think so.
No, none.
Popular Asian musicians?
Yeah.
Bruno Mars, right?
Yeah.
Bruno Mars. Jhené Aiko. And that's it. That's all I have. Oh wait, no, isn't Tyga Asian? Right?
Yeah.
The only one I can like really think of is Darren Criss from Glee. I love him.
Who else?
There's Haley Steinfeld. I like her, yeah.
I think Rich Brian. That's about it. Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, I know like Joji, but like, doesn't Bruno Mars, is he like half Filipino, like part Filipino, I think?
Yeah, Joji, Nikki from 88 Rising. Who else? Oh shit, I'm blanking out. Bruno Mars. Rich Brian. That's about it.
Is Steve Aoki Asian or he just pale?
Who plays on the radio now? I couldn't name it off the top of my head.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
That's the sad part.
Through these answers, we noticed something very interesting. Besides the fact that many couldn't think of popular Asian musicians, which shows us the lack of Asian representation in radio, the Asian American artists our interviewees were able to recognize were racially ambiguous. While artists like Bruno Mars, Tyga, Darren Criss, and Haley Steinfeld have Asian heritage, they aren't typically considered Asian artists. This is at least in part because they present as white, black, or ethnically ambiguous, which is more familiar to Americans than a full Asian. Are Americans and big music labels willing to accept Asian musicians with the exception that they look more American than Asian? This prevalence of colorism point that there exists a racial hierarchy in music and entertainment. America is willing to support or place a spotlight on a multiracial Asian American who possesses more Western features rather than the Asian American musician with Eastern features.
I think it's just that like K-pop is K-pop and people like to separate it from Western music. So it's okay to be like, oh, I like K-pop because it's its own thing and like people think that they're like culture or something because they listen to it. But to combine the two is something that a lot of people apparently are a little bit of like frightened of or scared of because we haven't really seen that. We've seen Asian artists try to put out music, but it doesn't get like the popularity it should. What's her name? Tiffany Young from Girls' Generation. She's trying to now come to America and like be an Asian American artist. And although a lot of her fans, like Girls' Generation fans, are like supporting her, she's not really getting like the recognition from like majority of just like American people who listen to the radio. So it's kind of just like we have like this sense of like we're not used to Asian artists in the we're not used to Asian artists in the media right now, so it's not something that we look into. It's something that's like, oh well, K-pop, that's a thing, but there's a difference between K-pop and Western music, and we should allow more Asian American artists to like get popular, because there really isn't any like fully like Asian person right now in the American music industry that's really popular.
Perhaps the reason why there aren't popular Asian musicians in America is that there simply aren't Asian musicians in America trying hard enough. Well, we don't think that's the case, because there are actually many Asian musicians. They're just not on television, but on YouTube instead.
Yeah, Joji.
I like Joji.
Nikki from 88 Rising.
Rich Brian.
Rich Brian.
David Choi, Yellow Post-it Man, Sam Chewy. Oh my god, I love him. What else? There's gotta be what's his name? AJ Raphael.
Yeah.
All those like Filipino YouTuber guys.
Yeah.
They had a lot of music.
As our interviewer also mentioned, it's interesting to see that Asian musicians aren't publicized through big outlets such as television or radio like usual artists, but through the efforts of fans in various social media.
Again, that's another thing that's why I think they're so popular, is because they're powered by social media. It's not powered by American mainstream music. Like you don't hear about like Twice because you heard it on the radio. You heard it because someone tweeted like a viral tweet about them, and you looked it up. And that shows the power of social media over the power of the radio nowadays. So.
As interviewees mentioned, there are many popular talented Asian musicians, but they're all hanging out on YouTube instead. Perhaps YouTube is the platform they chose to share their talent on because it's the only viable option. Big music labels and radio aren't so accepting of Asians just yet.
Here's the thing, they don't want Asian music, they want Asian American music. That's what I mean.
This issue has been a struggle within the Asian American community for a long time. This is called the perpetual foreigner syndrome, which is the persistent view that Asian Americans are not quite real Americans. There have definitely been improvements in Asian representation or diversity advocacy in music, but we have a long way to go. If America makes it an obligation to combat racial hierarchy and get rid of the perpetual foreigner syndrome in music, music will break boundaries and realize what it really is, which is the universal language of mankind.
I'd say it'd be cool if you're like Asian and you're hearing your kind of music with like all your other friends that aren't necessarily Asian. I think that's empowering in a way.